All right, number 5. For an investigation, the student measures the speed of a cart as it rolls down a ramp. The student then records the data in the table below. So we've got these locations and all of the different speeds over here. So we can see right here, just looking at these, and this is average speed, what is the speed doing? It is increasing as it rolls down the ramp, and that makes perfect sense because we know that's what speed does, increasing as it rolls down. So which of these best explains the student data? Does the speed of the car decrease? No, it doesn't decrease, so that makes that one wrong. Same with D. This one says decrease. So our answer choices are going to be between B and C, where it says the speed of the cart increases as the cart rolls down the ramp. So it's all the same until it gets to, because the force acting on the cart is greater than the force of gravity, or because the forces acting on the cart are unbalanced. Well, what do we know about, first of all, gravity is a constant. And what do we know about unbalanced force? Unbalanced forces cause a change in motion. And is this a change in motion? Absolutely. So the correct answer is going to be C. And again, a little flashback here, back to our chemistry. How many total atoms are in the formula? All right, so we asked you to do subscript. Is there a subscript? Is there a coefficient? And are there parentheses? If the answer on this, if any of them are no, then we say 1. So we start with carbon. Start by actually writing down all of the elements. I know there are 4 elements here because there are 4 capital letters. So for carbon, does it have a subscript? Yes, the subscript is 4. Does it have a coefficient? Yes, it does. That coefficient is going to be 3. So times 3. Is it part of parentheses? No, so no, 1. So it's going to be a total of 4 times 3 times 1 is 12. For hydrogen, is there a subscript? Yes, 3. Is there a coefficient? Yes, 3. Does it have parentheses? No, so we put 1. That'll be a total of 9. For nitrogen, is there a subscript? There is not a subscript there. So again, if it is no, it is 1. We assume there's 1 right there because why would they have it in the first place? Coefficient is 3, not any parentheses, so there are 3 total nitrogens. In oxygen, is there a subscript? Yes, that's 2. Coefficient, 3, not part of parentheses, so 1. Total of 6. So total atoms in this formula are going to be 9, that's 21, 22, 23, 24, plus 6, that'll be a total of 30 atoms.
All right, let's talk about speed, velocity, and acceleration. First off, we just have some definitions here. Velocity is the rate of motion or the speed in a specific direction. An example of velocity would be 30 kilometers per hour north. The direction does not have to be those directions that we use from a compass. It can be 30 kilometers per hour to Austin or 30 kilometers per hour to HEB. It just needs to be a direction, and that makes it a velocity. Speed, however, is the measure of distance in an amount of time, and it has no direction, so it is just 30 kilometers per hour. Obviously, no direction is needed for it to be a speed. Acceleration, however, is a change. The key word here is change, and we also told you guys to always think when you hear the word change, think what causes change? Unbalanced forces. Unbalanced forces are the only thing that can change an object's motion. So when an object is accelerating, it is experiencing unbalanced forces because it is changing. An example would be he started running away. So he was stopped and he started running. Speeding up, slowing down, turning, so going left, going right, zigzagging, starting, stopping. Those are all changes, and that's all acceleration. Down here, how can we remember the difference? I think I told you guys I like to think of velocity. This V in the velocity kind of looks like an arrow. Right here, a sideways arrow or an upside down arrow. Arrows like to show direction, so velocity includes direction. Speed is, I like to think about it, what I can see on my speedometer on my car. If I look on my car dash and I see that I'm going 60 miles per hour. It doesn't tell me where I'm going. It doesn't give me direction. It just tells me how fast I'm going, and that's speed. Acceleration, I like to think of my accelerator on my car. It speeds me up. If I let off it, it will slow down. It doesn't really turn me, but acceleration is any sort of change in your motion at all. Right over here, we have our triangle with our formula chart, of course. Distance is speed over time. This is this right here, speed is distance over time. This one is the one that you will find on your formula chart. And if you fill in, so everything on the right of the equal sign needs to be the same on the triangle. So when you go to make your triangle, make sure the D is over the T, leaving only one space for your S. And then, of course, if you're looking for time, it's going to be distance divided by speed. And if you're looking for distance, it's going to be speed times time. Down here, let's try an example. Number 6. What is the difference between the velocity and the speed? We said earlier, velocity has that V, so it gives a direction. It's speed with direction. That's the key word there. And so let's see if we have any of these answers that have that in there. Velocity is the change in distance over time. Uh-oh, that word change goes with acceleration, not velocity. So this is not going to be our answer. Velocity has direction associated with it, and speed has no specific direction. Well, up here in our dumping, we actually saw no direction right here with speed. So this looks like it might be a good answer, but we always like to check with all of them. Velocity has no direction. Uh-oh, that's not correct. Velocity is the only one that has direction. And letter J, velocity is the change. Uh-oh, that keyword there again. You're only going to associate change with acceleration. So our best answer here, of course, is G. Okay, number 7. The 3 vehicles shown below are all traveling at a speed of 15 meters per second. So 15 meters per second, let's go ahead and just label 15 meters per second and 15, sorry about that, meters per second. But only the pickup truck has a changing velocity. Uh-oh, changing. I see that changing word again. So I'm going to automatically know that the pickup truck is accelerating. It has some acceleration because it's changing. And here's our pickup truck. Let's see. The pickup truck has a changing velocity. Okay, it's changing, so we know it's accelerating. What was that other thing that I told you guys? Oh, yeah, changing. I want you to always think of unbalanced forces, because the only thing that will change an object's motion is an unbalanced force. So let's see. A, the pickup truck can accelerate faster than the 2 other vehicles. While that might be true, is that why the truck has a changing velocity? No. It would only have a changing velocity because of unbalanced forces, not because of how fast it can accelerate. It is traveling in the opposite direction from the other 2 vehicles. Traveling in the opposite direction does not mean that it's changing velocity, and we don't even know if it's traveling opposite or in the same direction. It's kind of hard to tell from that picture. See, it's traveling on a curve. If I'm traveling on a curve in the road, what am I doing? I am turning, right? And we just, earlier, we're saying that turning is changing your motion. It's changing your direction. So that would definitely be the reason that you would be having a changing velocity, because velocity includes both speed and direction. And, of course, needs a large amount of force to move. While that might be true, that is not going to be the reason it has a changing velocity. The only reason is because it's traveling on a curve, which means that it is accelerating and changing direction, which is part of velocity.
Okay, so this is the overview of Newton's laws. First law, also known as inertia, says that an object at rest will stay at rest, while an object in motion will stay in motion unless it's acted upon by an unbalanced force. So kind of a classic example of that is a seatbelt. So a seatbelt will is the force that stops that forward motion. Otherwise, so that is the unbalanced force. So therefore, if you did not have a seatbelt on and you slammed on the brakes, then you would fly forward like my dear honey. Second law is also known as the second law of force and acceleration. It says that acceleration is produced when a force acts on a mass. So any sort of force that you put on anything with mass, it's going to move. The greater the mass, the greater amount of force needed to accelerate the object. So we have an example here of two carts. We know it's usually Newton's second law because it has to do with either two carts or two different forces or two something. So we've got an empty cart that if applied a force of 5 newtons, it will have a big acceleration because its mass is very small. If you have a same cart but full of groceries, so therefore increasing its mass, if you have the same force of 5 newtons, it's going to have a small acceleration compared to the empty one. Newton's third law is also known as action and reaction. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Again, another classic example is a rocket ship as it starts to press down and its thrusters pushes down, and however it forces the rocket to travel up.
All right, number 8. Which of the following describes a pair of action-reaction? So pair, it's going to be one, they're going in opposite directions with equal force. A seatbelt presses back on a person who is suddenly moving forward. So you've got the seatbelt that's pushing backward and the person who's pushing forward, opposite, okay? Thrusters in a rocket ship run out of fuel and stop firing. Okay, you run out of fuel, that is not two forces acting opposite and equal with equal amounts of force. A soccer player kicks a ball, then knocks over a water bottle. Again, those two forces are not acting in opposition to each other. They're probably going in the same direction, or who knows which way they're going. A roller coaster car increases its speed as it travels over down a peak. A roller coaster increasing its speed, there is no opposing force, so a pair has to have two forces, and they have to be opposing each other or going in opposite direction. Number 9, the masses of 4 vehicles and the net force acting on them as they enter a highway are reported in the table below. Which vehicle has the greatest acceleration? So to find the acceleration, we come back to our triangle. We've got F equals ma. We're looking for the acceleration, so our formula is going to be F divided by m. So it's going to be this amount divided by the mass. For this first one, the answer is 3 meters per second squared. For the second one, it would be 3.75 meters per second squared. And the third one is 22.5 meters per second squared. And the final one is 4,500 divided by 2,000, which is 2.25 meters per second squared. So the largest of these three numbers, 3, 3.75, 2.5, and 2.5, is definitely this second one. So the one with the greatest acceleration is going to be our coupe, which is answer B. And finally, number 10, 2 cars with different masses travel at the same speed down a hill toward a stop sign. What will happen when both cars apply brakes at the same time to stop? So they're applying their brakes, which is clearly an unbalanced force, which is going to stop their motion. A car with a smaller mass will require less force to stop than the larger mass. Newton's second law states that the amount of force required to change the motion of a smaller mass is less. So that is a true statement, small mass, less force. B, the car with the larger mass will maintain its velocity while traveling down the hill. Well, the statement, it clearly says that they both will apply the brakes at the same time to stop. So they are going to stop. And C, the car with the smaller mass takes longer to stop. The second law says nothing about the time it takes to stop. And we know that if we're applying the same force to both objects, the smaller mass would stop faster because it would accelerate, it would have a greater acceleration than the car with the larger mass. And D, the car with the larger mass will have less inertia. Well, inertia is based on mass, and the larger mass has more inertia. So that is an absolute false statement, so our best answer is A.
All right, guys, so we've got 4 students who race toy cars down the track, and the mass and the acceleration of each car is recorded on the table. So which car has the greatest applied force? We're looking for force. That's force equals mass times acceleration. So I'm just timesing all of these right here. This first one is going to be 0.38. Then we've got 0.45, 0.375, and 0.525. We're looking at the one for the greatest force, and that's going to be this one right here. So Car number 4 has the greatest applied force.